The 6th of January, we got there eventually. I've been sitting here waiting. That Sacramento-Miami game just did not want to end, but we made it. We're here. This is the Monday post-game show. Let's go balls deep.
I'm the type to get shit done. You the type to observe. March Madness on my speakers, but today's November 23rd. Got something loud in the blunt, yeah. I don't say what I want, yeah. Probably somewhere sunny getting tan. Foreign women in the sun, yeah. That's all that I need. That's all that I need. That's all that I need. Got my brothers with me. Got my brothers with me and my mama's healthy. That's all that I need.
Welcome to the Balls Deep podcast, brought to you by Fantasy Basketball International. I'm Adam King. Find me on Twitter and Blue Sky at AdamKing91. Find us Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, anywhere, everywhere you consume your fantasy basketball content. We are also part of the Old Man Squad, at Old Man Squad on Twitter. 9 games, and it was a long one. Of course, they saved the longest game for the last. The show would have been up about half an hour ago. Had this last game not gone into double overtime. Let's move straight into the games. No time like the present. First game, Phoenix at Philadelphia. Of course, Phoenix mixing things up with their rotation, as we were aware of coming into the game. They win the game 109-99. Let's have a look at this new starting lineup. Mason Plumlee and Ryan Dunn moved into the starting lineup. As expected, Mason Plumlee did not play starters minutes. I said if you wanted to just stream him in for some rebounds, maybe some defensive stats. He got you 7 rebounds, 2 blocks and a steal. So not all bad, but 13 minutes is not enough for him to be a rosterable player. Ryan Dunn, look, he didn't get defensive stats. He had 15 points, 4 rebounds. It's not great. It's not bad. He played 27 minutes. That's mildly encouraging. Royce O'Neal will come back into this rotation in the next few games, maybe next week. So that will mix things up as well. I think Dunn is okay in standard leagues. Just okay. I don't think you have to go and add him. Bradley Beal, I wasn't too concerned about him coming off the bench, and he looked really good. 25 points, 5 assists, a steal and a block. So we don't do anything with him. They're just trying to get some rotations, chemistry, that sort of thing. There is chatter that this move to the bench is part of or the first step in moving him out. The whole Jimmy Butler trade thing that's being talked about. Nothing concrete yet. So at this stage, we just assume Bradley Beal is here and coming off the bench and still clearly a must-roster player. Yusuf Nurkic, only 14 minutes. It's been a fall from grace for him. 5 points, 7 rebounds. Look, maybe you hold him for one more game. This was not a great matchup to see what the rotation looks like because they were against Philly, who did not have Joel Embiid or Andre Drummond. So they just went small. Nurkic and Plumlee certainly could both play more in the next game. So I'd probably hold Nurkic for another game just to see what this looks like on what we might call a usual night. Grayson Allen, only 6 points, 14 minutes. Most of these guys I'd be sort of holding because they do have 4 more games this week. So Grayson Allen, Yusuf Nurkic, Plumlee maybe, Ryan Dunn. The schedule is favourable for them this week. For Philly, as I said, no Drummond, no Embiid. So Yabusele, he started, had 14 and 10. He just had to play because they have no other centers. So he's probably okay. I don't think that either of Drummond or Embiid are going to miss significant time here, but we know that when they're out, Yabusele is an option. Kelly Oubre returned, had 26 and 11. Shot the ball relatively well, but didn't get any defensive stats. So a really nice night, but possibly not what you were expecting from him. Paul George struggled again, 5 of 18. That buy low opportunity is still there for him. Tyrese Maxey had 31 and 10. And Caleb Martin can be streamed when they are short-handed. Second game of the night, Portland at Detroit. Not Detroit's best game. Probably one of their poorer games in the last 2-3 weeks, but they get the win, 118 to 115. We'll start with Portland. DeAndre Ayton, as expected, he wasn't that tired, so he was able to play. 18 and 11 with a block. Has to be rostered. Who knows what the future holds, but when he's out there playing minutes, he puts up numbers. Don't really need to talk about the starting five a whole lot here. They were all pretty good. They're all worth rostering. They just went very shallow. They didn't go with a deep rotation here. Scoot Henderson, I'm going to hold him for another game or two. This was obviously terrible. 0 points, 3 assists. I think you could move on if you want to. I'm going to hold him and just see. I think he'll be much, much better than this. Donovan Clingan's still playing the backup centre minutes, but not really playing enough to be rostered. For Detroit, so we had Malik Beasley and Tim Hardaway in the starting lineup in this one. Hardaway, 26 points, 0 rebounds, 0 assists, 0 steals, 0 blocks. So, you're happy with the points and everything else is very ugly. He hasn't really shot this well all season. They are shorthanded at the moment, though. So, maybe you just roll him out. Maybe you get a week out of him or something. Malik Beasley, on the other hand, 1 of 10 from the field, 5 points, 2 steals. We're holding him, obviously. This was disgusting, but he'll be better than this. Cade continues to be very good. Tobias Harris looking much better with Ivy out, as we sort of expected or hoped he might do. And Jalen Duren had 14 and 12, 27 minutes. He's settling into a better role. Still certainly not as good as we had hoped coming into the season, but he does seem to have solidified himself sort of 25 to 28 minutes a night, which is certainly enough to be rostered. Isaiah Stewart is not coming for his playing time at the moment. All right, next game. Bucks at Toronto. Easy win for Milwaukee here, 128 to 104. So we don't need to take a whole lot out of this one. They were without Middleton. This is just resting, precautionary, nothing to worry about. Lopez played more. I guess they figured out they actually need some rim protection on the floor. 16 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 blocks, 4 of 8 from 3. So much better from Lopez. Giannis, not his best game, 11, 12, and 13. Only attempted 8 field goals, had 7 turnovers. So the triple-double's nice. Counting stats are good. But certainly on the low end of Giannis production. And we just got more bench minutes. Gary Trent had 17 off the bench. Ryan Rowlands played 18 minutes. AJ Green he didn't do much, and he doesn't do much. So, if you had Gary Trent today, good job. But nothing sustainable here because Middleton will likely come back for the next game. For the Raptors, the starters were decent enough. Barrett had 25, 9, and 5 with a steal. Only 1 of 4 from the line. We know the story with him. This happens from time to time. Scotty Barnes was also serviceable. Given the blowout, you're pretty happy with the production of these guys. He had 21 and 5 with 2 rebounds, 2 steals, and 1 block. Jakob Poeltl a little bit quiet, nothing to worry about. Manuel Quickly also very quiet here, 11 points with 3 assists, 2 steals. They just didn't really get going. Grady Dick is the one we want to look at, I suppose. 11 points, 3 assists, a block. It's not terrible. It's not great. 3 of 12. He was on 0 points for a long time, so he did make it look a bit better towards the end of the game. I'm probably going to hold him for another game or two, but he could trend towards being more of a specialist rather than a must-roster player. I don't think we need to talk about anyone on the bench there in Toronto. Orlando at New York. Orlando just continue to somehow win games despite basically having their entire starting five out. So they rolled out Tristan Da Silva, Caleb Houston, Goga Bitadze, Cole Anthony, and Contavious Caldwell-Pope, and they beat the Knicks. Cole Anthony, I guess we're just rostering him at this stage until Suggs is back. He had 24, 7 and 4 with a steal. He's very up and down, but he can give you these performances. Tristan Da Silva, another pretty poor game, 8, 6 and 2. I think he's probably a hold just because of the playing time, but honestly, he's not that exciting. Bitadze just wasn't used a lot here. The Knicks didn't have Cat; he was out, so rotations were a little bit weird. I'm not worried with Bitadze here at all. Caldwell-Pope bounced back. He had 15 points, 3 threes, 3 steals. Has to be rostered. Wendell Carter had 19 points off the bench. That's pretty good for Wendell. He did have to shoot 8 of 11 to get there. He is probably a rosterable player still, at least while all these guys are out. But keep in mind, Paolo could be back for the next game, so that will mix things up a bit, as it will for Jonathan Isaac. So Isaac played 25 minutes. That alone makes him someone we should be looking at. 13 and 9 with 2 blocks. This is sort of comes out of nowhere. And with Paolo coming back, I'm not sure it sustains. He might go back to 20 minutes. But if you want to just grab him, just in case they are sort of taking the shackles off him a little bit, then by all means go and do that. For the Knicks, no Karl Anthony Towns, as I said. So, of course, they start Jericho Sims. Tom Thibodeau's fascination with Sims is weird. I don't know why you wouldn't just start Precious Achiuwa here. Sims did nothing. He had 10 rebounds. I guess he can be a rebound streamer, but I would expect Cat back in the next game or two. I don't think it's a lengthy absence. He was questionable in this one, so no indication that it's going to be more than 2 games or something like that. Anunoby, we sort of got the Pooey version of him, 9 points on 4 of 11. He had a steal and a block, but yeah, very up and down, as we know with him. Yeah, no, don't really need to talk about anyone else. Achiuwa would have been, and I think rightfully so, he would have been the pickup with Cat out and then for some reason played 22 minutes. Anyway, if Cat misses time, I still think Achiuwa should be the guy we want to target, not Jericho Sims, but I'm also not Tom Thibodeau. Indiana at Brooklyn. Brooklyn fall 113.99. I think Brooklyn are in a bit of trouble here. Indiana, pretty comfortable win. They didn't have to push themselves too hard, so not really a lot to take out of this one. Nembhard, we can probably move on, or you can hold. He's really in that no man's land, I think. Siakam was a weird game. 19 points, 6 rebounds, 2 assists. That's fine. He's been very meh the last 2 weeks, I want to say. Obi Toppin did have 22 minutes, 11 points, 5 rebounds. He hit a 3. Not his best night in terms of production, but just keep an eye on these minutes. I think this was more to do with the matchup than Toppin actually sort of forcing his way into more minutes here. So I wouldn't expect him to be someone we're adding. TJ McConnell, 2 assists, 2 steals. The steals are nice. We're not holding him quite clearly. For the Nets, God knows what we're doing with this team. So their starting lineup tonight was Noah Clowney, Zaire Williams, Nick Claxton, Keon Johnson, Tyrese Martin. I could almost guarantee that coming into the season, most people wouldn't have even known who Keon Johnson was or Tyrese Martin. Zaire Williams probably. Clowney probably, but it is certainly a roster of no names. What are we doing with them? Claxton was bad. He was clearly outplayed by Dayron Sharp again. I'm not adding Dayron Sharp in 12s, but deeper leagues I might. Sharp had 16 and 13 with 5 assists in 22 minutes. Nick Claxton had 4 and 7 with 2 steals and a block in 26 minutes. So I think we will get to a point where Sharp is the starting centre, be it by injury or rest or whatever they decide to do. Clowney had 14 and 4. He attempted the most shots. That's encouraging. Didn't hit a lot of them. Didn't get any defensive stats. I dropped him in a league this morning, and I'm okay with it. I think he's... And that's a league where I just need production. So I think if you can stash him, I probably still would, but we don't need to be rostering him. Zaire Williams, I would probably add. Keon Johnson, I would probably add. Tyrese Martin, I would probably add. This is under the assumption that that D'Lo is out. He, I think, will be back in the next couple of games as well. It did sound there. I read something about him. Where did I read it? Where are you, D'Angelo Russell? Oh, man. It's not a new day. Oh, what happened there? More along the lines of, this isn't too serious. We're just going to see how he is moving forward. Where are you? Here we go. So Coach Fernandez, Russell is being held out Monday, and the team will see how he feels going forward. So I don't know whether he just feels like playing or how the injury is going. But yes, I don't expect this to be a significant absence at all. But yeah, I still don't mind those guys as short-term ads at least. Dallas at Memphis. So Dallas went with no point guard in this one. Very weird starting five. Najee Marshall got the start. We talked about him as probably an ad. And if he's going to start and play 30-plus minutes, he's definitely an ad. He had 16 and 6 with 3 assists, 2 steals. Didn't shoot the ball overly well, but this is what he can do. He can get you some defensive stats. He can get rebounds. He can hit threes. He had a period of 2 or 3 weeks where he was rosterable earlier in the season before an injury and illness, I think it was. So I think we're adding him. I'm still holding Dinwiddie. I'm still holding Quentin Grimes. Neither were special in this one. But it's probably... So Dan Gafford played 8 minutes and left with an ankle injury, and they are reporting this as fairly significant. So they're expecting him to miss time. That obviously means Derek Lively is going to have to play a bit more. I don't think they're going to push him to 35, 36 minutes. I'm not sure they can, but he should be at least around 30 to 32. And then we probably get a little bit more of Maxi Kleber. PJ Washington can play small ball center, or they will just go small with Jaden Hardy as well. So Kleber, I don't think I'd be adding. Najee, I would. Spencer, I would hold. Grimes, I would hold. Jaden Hardy, probably just deeper leagues at the moment, but he could certainly force his way into the 12-team discussion. For Memphis, also a lot of injuries and some weird rotation stuff here. Scottie Pippen, we need to be holding. Again, they just won't push him over 30 minutes, but he did plenty tonight, 18, 5 and 4 with 5 steals and a block. So has to be rostered. John Conchar returned. This is what he gives you out of position rebounds. He got 13 of them here. His return impacted Jake LaRavia, who was coming off a double-double. He can probably be dropped. 27 minutes is still not bad, but yeah, I think LaRavia is okay to move on from. Kennard returned. He played 24 minutes, had 13, 4 and 4. I would prefer him over LaRavia. So I think if Kennard was dropped and you just need some threes and assists, I would look at him. Zach Edey, only 13 minutes in this one. I'm still holding him, but the trend is not going in the right direction here. They went with Jay Huff for 28 minutes out of nowhere. He had 11 and 2 with 2 steals. I don't think I'm adding Huff after one performance, but I'm definitely watching what they do here with the centre rotation. Brandon Clark, only 15 minutes. He had 6 and 2 with a steal and a block. Not a 12-teamer unless it's in a specific build. And Jalen Wells, we hold him as well for points. He did get 10 rebounds here, sort of out of nowhere. But, he's fine to be holding. All right, San Antonio at Chicago. Bulls get the win 114 to 110 for the Spurs. Devin Vassell, again, he's fine. 11, 4, and 5 with 2 steals, but that's pretty much what he had at halftime. He just did nothing in the second half. Wemby, also very quiet in the last quarter, especially, but in the second half, he's still a great line, 23, 14, and 4 with 8 blocks. The percentages, you know what you get with Wemby. He's going to have bad nights like this. Sohan was a bit better, 11, 4, and 2 with a steal and a block. Harrison Barnes went back to being Harrison Barnes. He did get a steal, but only 10 points, not holding him. And then our Champagne Keldon Johnson kind of streams. You would have added them for points. You got 11 and 12 respectively. Neither are must-roster player. You just stream them in when the schedule works in their favour. For the Bulls, Zach LaVine, very good. Vooch, very good. Kobe White, all you'll see on Twitter if you go on there is his dunk on Wemby. And let's be honest, this was not on Wemby. Wemby came from the weak side. He was late. Kobe was basically dunking it before Wemby got his arm up. The photos look like it was on him. And yes, look, you see Wemby coming, it's going to intimidate you, of course, but I wouldn't call it a poster. That's probably more me, but Wemby was not even in the play. He just came from outside the key. But Kobe White was good. Josh Giddey fell off a bit here, 6, 7, and 3 with 2 steals and a block. Still a very firm hold, though. Patrick Williams is one of the most boring fantasy players ever. 12, 3 assists, 1 rebound, a steal and a block. There's a little bit of Tamani Kamara in him. Sort of just does enough to be rostered, but never really hits any heights. Lonzo Ball had 5 points, 4 rebounds, 2 assists, 3 steals in 24 minutes. We've said if he is going to push to this range, he's probably worth rostering, again, in specific builds. He is not going to bring you points. That's pretty obvious. He's just going to get you those counting stats. Clippers at Minnesota. Wolves barely. They hang on and get the win. Start with the Clippers. Kawhi Leonard on a 20-minutes restriction, which he played most of those in the first sort of half and then a little bit in the third quarter. He finished with 8 points, 2 rebounds, 2 assists, a steal. It's going to be a slow ramp up for Kawhi. We know that. Norm Powell, 25 points. I've said I think he'll be okay and could still lead this team in scoring. James Harden had a nice two-way performance. You don't always get that from him. 22, 8, and 8 with 2 steals and 2 blocks. Zubats was very good. 6 blocks to go with his 17 and 16. That's about a month's worth of shot blocking for Ivica Zubats. Chris Dunn, we can drop. Derek Jones, we can drop. Amir Coffey, he had been on a bit of a hot run, but only 9 points here. We're not holding him either. For the Timberwolves, Mike Conley moved to the bench. Dante DiVincenzo started, and it probably worked for both of them. DiVincenzo had 15 and 8 with 1 assist. That's fine. Conley had 11, 4, and 3 with a steal. That's also fine. I've talked about Conley. I have him in one team at least, and I was going to drop him. This probably earns him another game or 2 on my squad. I'll leave him there. He's not going to hit any sort of an elite ceiling this season or any season now. He's just too old. But he's borderline. Rudy Gobert, better. Still offensively underutilized, but 8 points, 18 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 block. That gets it done. You'd like probably another block there and maybe for him to go 5 of 8 instead of 3 of 8, which is then 12, 18, and 2 blocks, and that's absolutely fine. Julius Randle only played 23 minutes. He did have some foul trouble, but he's also just not very good. 5 points, 6 rebounds. So we got more of Naz Reid. We got a few more minutes of Mike Conley. I'm not thinking that this is going to be a trend with Randle at all. There's nothing indicating that. Anthony Edwards, 37 points, 7 rebounds, 8 assists. He did a lot of his damage late in the game. So, but a good game for Anthony Edwards. And the final game of the night, which went forever, double overtime. Sacramento get the win, 123 to 118. We'll start with Miami, of course, no Jimmy Butler. So everyone had to do a bit more. Everyone played a lot of minutes. Who do we need to talk about? Jaquez started and randomly had a triple-double with 5 steals and a block. So if you had him today, well done. Even Haywood Highsmith did stuff today, 14 and 6 with 2 blocks. Rozier had 18, 7 and 3 with a steal. They just lent into their starters a lot. They didn't play Jovic a ton. Duncan Robinson has moved to the bench, obviously, which makes him just a streamer. Rozier, I think I'd be adding. He's not exciting, but I think I'd be adding him. Jaquez, look, you can add him. He's not going to be this good and hasn't been this good. But if he's going to start and play 30-plus minutes, he's probably worth a roster spot. Highsmith, I'm still not super interested in, despite this performance. I'd prefer Jaquez. I'd prefer Rozier. For the Kings, we had no De'Aaron Fox again. So Keon Ellis remained in the starting lineup. What happens when Fox comes back is yet to be determined, but we just keep rolling with Keon Ellis. 17 points, 8 rebounds, 3 assists, 3 steals, 1 block, 3 threes. Pretty happy that I've got him in about 3 or 4 teams at the moment. That could change very quickly, but smooth sailing right now. Keegan Murray had 14 and 12. He looked okay. Of all of these starters, he was probably the least impressive, which is not surprising. DeMar DeRozan looked more like the DeRozan of old than we've seen. 30 points. Didn't do a lot outside of the scoring. He had 4 assists. He had a block. But good to see him being more aggressive, and which he has to be with no De'Aaron Fox there. And Malik Monk also very aggressive. Didn't hit a lot of his shots, 23 points on 25 shot attempts. But he did have 2 steals, 6 assists. So he will be, well, he'll shoot better than this most nights. Trey Lyles had sort of been a fringy kind of ad. I think we can safely move on from him. I know I will be. Kevin Huerter are also no reason to be holding him at all. All right, let's do some questions quickly. Okay. Joseph Kim, with all these injuries on the Mavs, who do I prefer rest of season, Lively or PJ? Yeah, I mean, they're different. Lively's rebounds and blocks, that's about it. Field goal percentage, I suppose. So he is quite a typical sort of big man. Whereas Washington can give you a little bit more. So I think when we get to the end of the season, Lively will probably be the better ranked player, but that's just because of the blocks. PJ will get you some threes. He'll score a bit more. He can get defensive stats. He's a decent rebounder. So if you're looking for more across the board, I'd go PJ. If you're looking for big man stats, I'd go Lively. How many more missed games do I expect? Well, I have no idea. Obviously, I'm not within the team, but I would say, and I did say, with Towns, D'Lo, and probably Murphy, we're looking at maybe another 1 to 2 games. I don't think any of they were all questionable. So yeah, there's no indication that this is multi-week or anything like that. Tobias Harris or Sohan in a 9-cat. Ooh. 2 weeks ago, this would have been Sohan. Now, Tobias has looked better. So it might be him. I think it's pretty close. But I might go Tobias now. Sohan's probably a little bit better defensively, better rebounder, but Tobias will get you more threes and his percentages. His free throw percentages are a little bit better. So I think it's pretty close. I don't think it's going to make or break you. What do we got from Chad here? Bam looked on an island. Terry Rozier. Yeah, Rozier looks shot. He was fine tonight, and he's going to have to do stuff. But, yeah, it's... do I think Booker, Giddey, Kawhi, Vassell will fix their shooting slumps? Yeah, Kawhi's only been back for 2 games. Vassell's been in and out for, 2 years. Giddey is Giddey. He's hot and cold. Booker, I think, will. Of the 4, I think Booker would be the one the sooner. He will be sooner rather than later. Kawhi will just work his way into it. Vassell will... efficiency has never been a strength. And Giddey, likewise, efficiency has never been a strength. Any info on how long Suggs, Jalen Johnson, Keontae Poole are out? No. Jalen Johnson's shoulder injury is now going to, because he's already been ruled out for tomorrow, so that's going to end up, that's his 3rd game maybe in a row. This is just going to be something I think they're going to have to manage. So I'm not sure for him. Suggs, no word that I haven't heard anything for him. Keontae, again, I think it's an ongoing thing that they're going to have to manage, and there could come a point where they do just end up giving him 2 or 3 weeks off. Poole, his is an ongoing thing as well. And I do think the Wizards, the Jazz, the Blazers are all slowly moving into tank mode. So Keontae and Poole are pretty risky. Jalen Johnson, obviously we're holding Jalen Johnson and Suggs. If you had to drop one of these 4, it probably would be Keontae, I think. What keyboard do I use? I don't know. I don't even know if it's a brand. No idea. It's not a fancy one at all. It's just like a basic one that we got from, I don't even know where we got it. It's probably pretty old. Steve dropped Brolo. Don't think he'll shoot 50 from 3. No. Tonight was a pretty clear outlier. Are we back on Wendell Goga splitting minutes? I don't think so. I think this was just a matchup kind of Wendell playing a little bit better. I don't think that is a plan. Like, they didn't come into this game actively thinking that Goga and Wendell were going to split minutes. Are the Knicks going to get a bench? No, I don't think so. Unless they make some moves at the deadline, but I'm not sure that would happen. Is Goga a buy low? Would Nick Claxton for Goga be a fair trade? It'd probably be fair. Would I do it? No, I would not. I'd still rather have Goga pretty comfortably over Claxton, I think. I think it's not a terrible trade, but I'd rather Goga. Yeah, good point there, Chad. Tibbs was told the analytics team ran the Sims and that they won the championship. And Tibbs misunderstood and thought they meant Jericho Sims. I don't know what it is with Jericho. He just keeps playing Jericho Sims. He's very athletic, but not a good player. Use the meh designation. It's a good designation. There are a lot of players who are in that meh. Yes, we do know Ziaire Williams from Memphis. That's right. So that's why I do think people know him. How do I know? Yeah, I'm not sure what's happening in Brooklyn. I don't know. Jalen Wells hold. Yeah, I think so. If you need defensive stats, no. If you just need points and threes, he's just a guy that's playing minutes. So is Claxton a buy low? Look, he probably is. I wouldn't offer anything more than a top 80 for him or a top 90. Did the Mavs go big against JJJ and that's why? Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't know if this was a matchup thing. It could have been. It could have just been because they were against the Grizzlies. So we'll see. Like I said, I'm not dropping Dinwiddie. I'm not dropping Grimes just based on this. Tari sitting on the waiver wire. You already have a man. Would you pick him up when he returns? Would have to drop a top 100 rated player or lose a stream spot. I've dropped Tari in 2 leagues in the last day or two. I think one of those I need production now, so I can't wait for him. The other one is a league where we're about to redraft. So even if he comes back, I'm only going to get him for a week before we split and redraft the entire league. So, look, when he returns, whenever that is, he can be a top 100 player. He can be a top 80 player. But I would say, given this is an injury that they don't seem to have a lot of knowledge about, they don't really know what's going on, it's a pain thing, I don't think they're going to push him beyond about 22 minutes, to be honest. Lonzo will be limited to 24 minutes for a while. Yeah, I think so. I'm surprised he got to 24. I'm happy he did, but I don't... I don't think they will push him beyond that, like you said. Keon, there's some Keon chatter. He was very good tonight. PJ or Tobias? Did I answer that one? Or did I answer Tobias and someone else? I don't remember what I answered. It's pretty similar, I think, Tobias and PJ. Tobias will score a bit more. Washington's going to get a bump now for another 2 weeks. He does more defensively. I don't know. If you can take a little bit of a risk, I think I'd go Washington for the next couple of weeks. Do I think even after the Kawhi ramp-up, Norm could be the leading scorer? I think he could be. I'm not saying he will be, but there's a chance because I don't think Kawhi is going to come out and be a 26-point scorer, or I think he'll be closer to 20, 21, and Norm is around that range, and Harden is just under that, I think. So I think there is a chance that he will. And I guess probably the bigger takeaway from me thinking that is that I don't think he takes a huge hit when Kawhi is back properly. How long do I give Vassell to get into his groove and living up to top 70 expectations? He is a little bit frustrating. I'm just going to pull up his box scores here. Come on. All right. Where are we? Yeah, he's outside the top 100 for the season. I think probably ceiling is top 70 for this year anyway. How long do we give him? I don't know. Let's have a look at his games. He's double digits in most games. They're just not 20 or 30 or anything like that. The defense has been good. So he's had 2-1, 2-3, 0-3 steals in the last 6 games. The assists have actually been okay. 5-3, 6-3, 4, 5. So assists are pretty good. It's really just that shooting, as you said. He's 36%, 40%, 44, 29. He did have one game in there where he shot 57, but that's really been the outlier over the last 2 weeks. I think he'll push to sort of 45%, which will bring his scoring up to, what's he at now, 15.5, sort of 17 to 18, and everything else. And that'll bring him into the top 80. I'd probably say give him another 2 weeks, and then we can maybe reevaluate. When am I coming to Vancouver with Josh? I don't know if Josh is going. Like I said, I'm hoping to get there in the next 2 years, I think. It won't be this year. Is Barber must pick up now with Brogdon and Poole injured? Poole's questionable for tomorrow, pretty sure. pretty sure. Yes, Poole is questionable tomorrow. Brogdon is out. Is Bub? I think Bub is questionable. Actually, he's not even in the bloody. All right, let's have a look. Carrington is questionable tomorrow as well, with an ankle injury. So, yeah, if we knew he was healthy, I think he's probably worth picking up because I think he's just going to play significant minutes rest of the way. But there's a lot of uncertainty in Washington at the moment. Giddy and Vassell. Yeah, I think they're both sort of 45%. That's sort of where they sit. What's Jalen Wells' rest of season value when everyone gets injured? When everyone is healthy. Sorry. Yeah, I mean, look, I think when they're all healthy, probably not great. Not a rosterable player when they're healthy, but are they going to get healthy? They're just always injured. So if we get to the point where Smart is available, if Smart is still in Memphis and Ja Morant is healthy and all these guards are playing, I think he will be a pretty safe drop. But at the moment, just roster him. Tim Hardaway Jr. did show up tonight. We haven't seen much of it. Whether we'll see it again. He's going to get opportunities. And thanks for the show. No worries. I enjoy doing these shows. You know that. Yeah. I do. Oh, look, if it was enough to earn an income, I'd just do a show all day, every day, probably. It's 45%. A good percentage for players. Yeah, look, it's fine. It's not bad. It's not good. For a guard, it's, I don't know what the average percentage is, but I think it's probably in that average range. Do I blame the injuries with Pelicans, Memphis, Brooklyn, etc. on the game and bad luck or their medical team? Oh, look, I've talked about my thoughts on how injuries are treated in the NBA, especially hamstrings, calves, groins. I think players in all teams, well, no, not all teams, in a lot of teams are rushed back too quickly because, and I always use Australian sport, but that's what I have to use because that's what I watch. When players over here come back from injuries, they are not on minutes limits. They are not eased back in. You play when you're 100%. NBA, they're always 20 minutes for a week, and then we'll see how they go, and they're sitting back-to-backs and all that sort of stuff. In my mind, you shouldn't be coming back unless you're 100%. So if someone is returning and they can't play their normal allotment of minutes, whatever that is, then they're not healthy and they shouldn't be back. I know from a fantasy perspective, it's always good to get them back early, but I would argue that is it more frustrating for a player to sit out 6 weeks and we know that he will be 100%, or sit out 3 weeks, come back for a week, out for a week, back for 2 days, like the Jordan Clarkson thing. He has been in and out of lineups all year with this plantar fasciitis. If they had just sat him for 6 weeks 2 months ago, would he now be back and healthy? I don't know. Point guard average is 43%. So there you go. 45 is pretty good. 20 points. If you take 15 to 20 shots and you hit 45, I mean, what's that? Almost half. So that's 7 to 10 shots. 10 shots, you're probably hitting a couple of threes. So 20-ish. Very rare that we have an NRL forward be restricted to 30 minutes a game off the bench. That's right. When an NRL player comes back, from an injury, they usually just thrown straight back in and expected to do what they do usually. All right, that will do for today's show. Actually, I've got a... Lucky I remembered to do this. Let me flash this up. I will be doing live with Matty G tonight. We're going to do a crossover. We haven't done one for a while. This will be at 8:30 p.m. Eastern in Australia, which I know is like middle of the night in the US. But we will be doing it tonight, so it will be live. So if you're getting up tomorrow, you can watch it. But yes, it'll be good. It's been a few weeks since we've done the crossover, so we'll be talking about some young players, trades or hypothetical trades or rumoured trades, as well as some player matchups and ADP battles. So that will be good. And I will have this Saturday morning Australian time, so Friday, I think it's Friday 4 p.m. Eastern in the States. I'll be starting my new weekly, it'll just be the Balls Deep normal show, but we'll be doing our trade talk show where we look at the most traded players from the last week, last day, whatever, on Yahoo, and just talking about who were they traded for, who would we prefer. So sort of player battles. I'll have Michael Waterloo on with me this week, and it'll be Michael Waterloo, Noah Rubin, and Raphael Johnson will be the three that I cycle through. So it'll be a different one every week, always at the same time, always on a early Saturday morning my time, Friday afternoon in the States. So yeah, a couple of shows coming up, which is exciting. But yes, that will do for today's show. Thank you everyone for tuning in, for the questions. Please go and download. Please subscribe, do all of that stuff. You know, it really helps us. I'm Adam King. This has been the Balls Deep post-game show. Until next time, catch up.
You just listened to another episode from the Fantasy Basketball International Podcast Network. Thanks for joining us. And for more information about joining our community, please check out our website at FBI.